Alright guys, Mike here, and welcome to part 5 of my Furioso Dreadnought painting tutorial. This one's all going to be about painting parchments and banners and these kind of purity seals and the like. As you can see before you are the colours I use. There's khaki, without game colour khaki, or I looked it up and GW has a commando khaki, which is the same. Game colour bone white on top of that, or bleach bone. And I've actually got one that off white, but obviously you can just substitute white or mix white with a little bit of the bleach bone colour or bone white colour to get this sort of like off white. I think it works really well for things like parchments and banners and the like, because it keeps it looking, it's not really bright. It make it look worn or weathered. But if you change that out and you use just a skull white or dead white, whatever, just a white colour, this same combination is really good for doing decorative skulls and the like. So you can use it for that. You also need, I also use Griffin sepia wash. And so, as you can see on the model, I've already actually painted the khaki colour on all the areas where I want, I want this little colour scheme. So these massive parchments and purity seals, and they've all had the khaki. So I don't need to take this away from this tutorial. Don't need that, and I actually don't need to use these two just yet, because the next stage, if you were doing this just on its own, you'd base coat in khaki, and then you're going to use the Griffin sepia wash on top of all the purity seals and banners to shade it. So that's what I'm going to do now. Let me get some on my brush. Okay. So yeah, this just needs to go on all the places where we're doing this purity seal work. And then what we'll do after this, once this is dried, we'll go back and essentially repaint the khaki colour on the highlights. So it's a bit tedious. It's like you paint this nice uniform colour and it takes a little while, and then you go put this wash over it, and then you have to paint the colour again. It's kind of like, well, what's the point? But it'll make it look, you're basically using the wash to shade the areas, but there's obviously going to be places where, because these GW washes will stain the overall colour as well and will darken the overall thing. So what will happen is you'll get these nice shadows, but the highlight areas will be a tad bit darker than the original khaki colour was. So if you then just start painting your next highlight colour on top, there'll be too much of a difference between the two colours. So what you're trying to do, you'd have to paint the khaki on top, only on the highlight areas, mind. And then, that'll sort of bring it back to what it was before, ready for the next highlight. I'm just having to be very careful and try and hit the back of this purity seal here. I'm not sure, you can't see, sorry. It would have been awkward to show you that, but basically you just get in the back as well. So yeah, I'm just going to go over the whole model doing this. So I'll see you in a bit. So I've just finished applying the wash onto all the areas, and as you can see, I'm letting it dry upside down. So this is just a quick tip. If you want to make sure that things like that big purity seal there, and on cloth robes and stuff, if you're applying a wash to them, let them dry upside down, so that as the wash dries, it'll start to excess wash will fall and sink, and it'll dry near the top where there's all these folds and creases and stuff, rather than having it the other way around, where what happens is the wash comes out of those creases, goes all the way to the bottom of the robe or the purity seal and starts pooling at the bottom, which isn't what you want. So that's why I'm just going to leave it like that to dry upside down for the time being. And when it's dry, I'll come back and I'll move on to the next stage. See you in a bit. So the wash is completely dry now, and hopefully you can tell that if you look at that purity seal, that the shadows already look really nice. The way it's darker at the top than it is at the bottom. So I've just brought out the khaki colour. I've mixed it 1-to-1 with water. I've carefully loaded up my brush. I then got rid of the excess, and what you want to do is to paint over the highlight areas where the wash is probably toned down the overall colour. So you want to get it back to being khaki on the highlight area. So basically you're just leaving the wash and the darkened khaki colour in all the recesses. But seeing as we've got 2 more highlight colours to go, you've got to leave enough room to get them into. As you can see, as I'm doing on this book, I'm just leaving a small gap between where I'm painting. Oh, it's a bit bright actually, hang on. Turn the light off. Would this be better? However, you can see the difference between that one page and the other page on the opposite side. So yeah, because of the thin paint and not overloading the brush, it's like every stroke you can just see a small amount of pigment going down, and then by the time you finish each stroke you can go back and go over the same area again, and you'll see it become more uniform. So that's what we're after a nice uniform colour of the khaki and all the raised areas where we're going to be highlighting back up. So I'm going to carry on doing this, and I might record it. Yeah, I'll record it and we'll see how long it takes, and I might add it on fast forward if I don't, and I'll see you when this is done. See you in a bit, guys. Okay, so I finished doing the khaki back on to parchment, leaving some of the the darkened wash areas in the recesses. I've now got the bone white or bleach bone colour, and then it's a case of going even smaller and only picking out the highlight areas with this colour, leaving some of the previous colour behind, concentrating on like the high points of the model, or so areas facing upwards will get a bit more light. You can see the book is quite bright. I'm sorry about the bright light, guys. It's a lot easier to see the difference in colour in person, but I need the bright light so I can see what I'm doing as well. So just in the middle pages of the book, but it's hard to see. So yeah, I'm going to go through the model and do this on all the areas, and I'll be back in a bit. Okay guys, so I've finished doing the bone colour on top. I've also used it around the edges of the parchments and things, like as an edge highlight. The last colour, the off-white, I'll apply now, but this will be only on the upmost edges, sharp edges that are facing upwards and things like that, and in certain parts around the edges for an edge highlight. On the sort of larger, flatter areas, like on the bottom, this bottom wave of this scroll, I'm probably not going to apply any of this to it because it's kind of like it's smooth, almost flat. It's already got that subtle highlighting on it, but this would be too sharp a colour, I think, for such a smoothly bending area. But some of the sharper folds in some of these scrolls and parchments and things, we'll get this colour applied. So I'll just some on my brush, and I'll show you. So for the likes of the book, I'll just put it round the top edge like that. Not sure you can if the camera's picking up well. It's a lot of light. I'm on the top of those pages as well. And then actually I might try, but be very careful and draw a thin line. In the centre of the pages. Yeah, not sure how, it's really hard to see on the camera. Pictures would be much better, but I'm going to carry on doing this, and then I'll see you when I'm finished. Okay, so there we have it. I've just finished putting the off-white on all the you know, upper facing edges and some of the, you know, just to make it pop a bit more, add a bit more contrast. I know I can't seem to get a decent well, the camera can't really pick up the colours. If I turn the lights off, you're not really getting an accurate representation here. Yeah, it's a little better. Essentially, you could call that done as far as the shading goes. But what you can do is you can thin some of the Griffin sepia again, thin it down, and after it's been thinned, carefully apply it back to some of the deep recesses. Or if you want to tone down the overall look, say, you know, the contrast is too stark, you know, put it all over the top again, so it all just sort of it should help everything sort of combine, and you get this nice effect. But as a result of doing that, it will tone the overall colour down, so then you may have to go back with some of the harsher highlights and reapply them on top. But yeah, I've done the shading of the parchments. Now I'm not going to do it now, but what I use to write the text is a Copic multiliner, and this is a 0.03mm nib. As you can barely see there, it's really small. And if you're really careful, that's how I write the scroll work. Or I can, you know, if you use a brush, just very careful, use a really the fine point on my brush and just water my paints down a lot so they flow really well, and just be very careful. But I find the pen is really useful. It's a shame because it's only in one colour, which is black, and it'd be nice to have different colours. So yeah, there we have it. That's how I paint the parchments. And I use similar techniques on other things with just different colours. Like for the wings here, I'll just use, it's basically the same thing, but with just, you know, whites rather than these warm sort of beigey colours. So yeah, I'll see you next time. Please subscribe if you like these kind of videos. Any comments, advice, or questions, that'd be much appreciated. So in the meantime, take care guys, I'll see you later.